everyone for participating in this session. Today, we are going to look at an introduction to the Demographic and Health Survey, which we often call the DHS. This is an overview of our presentation. We will look at what DHS is, the survey types, the questionnaires and manuals, analyzing DHS data, recode files, guide to DHS statistics, and then we will also look at some online tools. So the DHS started way back in 1984 when the first DHS began, and it is a data that is collected on health indicators, mostly in low and middle income countries. It initially focused on family planning and fertility issues only, but it has now extended to look at other issues related to maternal and child health as well as adult health. There are different survey types under the DHS program. We have the standard DHS, which is the standard demographic and health survey. We have the malaria indicator survey. We have the SPA, which is the service provision assessment service. And then we have the special ones, which is the maternal health survey. So this special one is not for all countries. There are specific countries that have this particular special one, which is the maternal health survey. Ghana, for instance, has the maternal health survey, but other countries do not have it. There are standard questionnaires and manuals. So everybody who wants to use the DHS for data analysis for any project should go through these questionnaires and manuals. And when you go to the DHS website and then you look at the questionnaires and manuals, you will see the various questions that were asked to elicit questions for the DHS study, as well as the manuals that were followed to create the variables and all the indicators that are used in the DHS. So these are available on the DHS website. When you want to start analyzing data using the DHS, you need to follow some steps. So these are steps that need to be followed, and we have made them into 8 steps. The first steps, you need to select the surveys for your analysis, whether you are using SPA, the standard DHS, whether you are using the special one, which is the maternal and health survey. You need to decide which survey you are going to use. After you have decided on the survey, you need to also go to the second step, which is to review your questionnaires. So every study you want to conduct, you need to know what questions were asked for that particular study you want to undertake. So that is where it is important for you to review the questionnaires, to look at the questions, and then to look at the responses. After you have reviewed your questionnaires, the next step is to register for dataset access. So as we have mentioned always, the DHS is a secondary data, so it is publicly available, but you need to be granted access before you can have access to the DHS. So you need to register, and the registration is simple. You go to the DHS website and then you click on register, and then it will create a form for you to fill. On the form, you need to put in the title of your project. You need to talk about a brief description of the methods that you are going to use to undertake that particular project, the expected outcomes, and the significance of that particular study. Once you fill that questionnaire or you fill that form, you send it to the DHS, and then they will assess that and grant you access. You need to understand that for any project you want to undertake, you need to have that registration done before you can be granted access to the data. Once you have done this and you have been given access, the next step is to download the data set. And that one, it can come in a zip file or a folder, and then you have to unzip it and then get access to that. And it comes in different formats. depending on which format you requested for, whether you requested for it in SPSS format or you requested for it in Stata format. These are the common format it comes in. So when you request for it in this format and they come, you just have to download them. The next step is to open your data sets. And after you have opened the data set, you are encouraged to go through the data set to know your variables, which is the step 6. You have to know which variables you are going to use for your study, understand them very well, understand every component of the variables and every description of the variable. And the next step after you have known your variables is to use sample weight. Sample weights are very, very important in the DHS because they ensure that the representativeness of the sample is assured. So for instance, in some countries, the data collection is done in such a way that some places are sampled more than other places. Once you apply sample weight, you make sure that this kind of oversampling or undersampling in some places are catered for. So this is very, very important. You need to employ sample weight in your data. And the DHS has provided a variable that can help you to generate your sample weight. The common variable in the, for instance, individual recode file is the V005. So you need to make sure that you have used this particular variable to ensure that you have to employ sample weight. That is very, very important. Then the last one is to consider special values, so that the special values could be values that are unique in the data set, and it is unique for each of the countries. So you need to consider that as the last step before you start analyzing your data. So in the DHS, we have some standard recode files. We have different files you can have access to once you have the data set. We have the household data recode file or the household recode file. And this data set has one record for each household. We also have the household listing data or the household member recode file. And this one has one record for every household member. Please note the differences. Then we have the individual women's data or the individual recode file. And this data set has one record for every eligible woman as defined by the household schedule. We also have the men's recode file or the men's data. And this one has one record for every eligible man as defined by the household schedule. Apart from this, we also have the couples data or the couples recode file. And this one has data set for one record for every couple. We have the children's data or the children's recode file. And this one also has one record for every child of interviewed women born in the 5 years preceding the survey. And then we have the birth recode file, which is a data set that has one record for every child ever born to interviewed women. Apart from these recode files or these standard files, we also have associated recode files. For instance, we have the wealth index data. So from 1984 up to 1988, we had wealth index data as a separate file. So this particular one was often merged with the standard recode files in order to perform the analysis. But at a point, it was realized that there is the need to add wealth index as a variable on its own to the various standard recode files. So we no more have the wealth index data. But if you look at previous data sets that were collected by the DHS, the wealth index data or the wealth index recode file or the file is still available and can be accessed. We also have the height and weight data. And this one also has one record for every child measured for height and weight. And this was also part of the recode. This was also sorry for the technical issues here. So the height and weight data was also available, but now it has been created into a variable and added to the standard recode file. So the most recent data sets that you have would not have the height and weight data as a separate file. It has been fused into the standard recode files. Apart from that, for DHS8, so every year or every 5 years, when the new data sets are released by the DHS, and it can be 5 or more depending on the resources available in the country or not. There are different files that are added. And currently for the standard DHS8, we also have additional standard files. We have the accident and injuries recode file. We have the pregnancy recode. We have the pregnancy and postnatal care. We have the siblings recode, household survey recode. We have the child under 5 recode, and then we have the field worker questionnaire. The field worker questionnaire was also available in DHS 7, but in DHS 8, it is still available. So this is a video that shows the various standard recode files explained in, I think, like 3 minutes. Abdulaziz, is it possible for us to play?
Sure.
Yeah, just 1 minute, 22 seconds video.
Welcome to the DHS program video on overview of DHS dataset types. As discussed in the video Introduction to DHS Datasets, separate data files are created for different units of analysis. Some of the most common files include the HR file, which contains data on all the households interviewed. PR file has data for every household member. IR file has data for all the eligible women with completed interviews. The KR file contains data for children under 5 years of age of interviewed women. The BR file is data for all births to interviewed women. MR file has data for all the eligible men with completed interviews. The CR file has data for men and women with completed interviews who both declared to be married to each other or living together. And the AR file contains HIV test results for people who got tested in the survey. This video provided a brief overview of the most common DHS dataset types. If you have any additional questions, please visit our website or the DHS user forum.
Okay. So as you can see, this is a very brief video that shows the common DHS standard recode files. So before you perform your analysis, you have to make sure you are using the appropriate file. I've seen people use KR file when they are supposed to use BR file. I've seen people use the IR, that is the individual record file, when they are supposed to use a different file. Before you do that, you have to make sure that you are using the correct file so that you can get your estimates correct. Now, having looked at the standard record files and its associated files, let's look at a very, very important document, and it is also in a link format, which is the DHS statistics. So what the DHS statistics does, you can download the document if you want, or you can follow this link. It has all the information in there. And every time a new survey is released or a new version of the DHS is released, they try to use that as the source in order for you to perform your statistics. So now, because we are in DHS 8, this particular link tells us what is in DHS 8. And here, what this one does, and I have been using it a lot, we have been using it a lot, and anybody that is performing any analysis using the DHS should resort to this. You cannot do away with it. What it does is that it tells you the various indicators that are in the DHS, what variables are there in order for you to get those indicators, and what you are supposed to use, which file you are supposed to use, and then how you are supposed to perform your analysis. So we will click on one of them and then check exactly what is in there. Is there any issue on adolescent pregnancy? Yes, so I think fertility, this is age-specific fertility, go down. Teenage pregnancy and motherhood. Yes. After age at first birth. No, down. Down, 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 down. Yes, that one. Okay, good, thank you. So let's look at this particular one. Somebody wanting to look at teenage pregnancy and motherhood. What the DHS statistics does is that it explains what teenage pregnancy and motherhood is to you. Then it gives you a definition of what should go into teenage pregnancy and motherhood. So here there are 4 definitions that have been provided. Somebody can be considered as having gone through teenage pregnancy when the person is age 15 to 19 years and has had a live birth. The person is age 15 to 19 years and had ever had a pregnancy loss. The person is age 15 to 19 and is currently pregnant. And then we have all these 3 together as people who have ever been pregnant. So anybody that is looking at teenage pregnancy should take into consideration these 3 indicators: having a live birth, having had a pregnancy loss, or currently pregnant. All these 3 together talks about ever being pregnant. But then if you are interested in current pregnancy, then you can restrict your analysis to only the 3rd component. So after the explanation or the definition of the indicator, the DHS statistics also tells you about the population base. So here we are looking at all women aged 15 to 19. So we cannot be talking about adolescent pregnancy and look at people that are more than 19 years old. From the DHS, you have to restrict your analysis to only those who are aged 15 to 19. And it also tells you the file that you are supposed to use. And here it has indicated the IR file, which is the individual recode file. Take notice of that. Then what is the time period? The current status at the time of the survey. So that is the time period you are supposed to use. So once the coverage has been explained, the DHS statistics also tells you about the numerators that are supposed to be considered. And like the definitions above, it also tells you the numerators for each of these definitions. So the first one, the number of women aged 15 to 19 who have had a live birth. So the live birth variable is V201. So first of all, you need to restrict your analysis to those who are aged 15 to 19. So in the DHS, if we are performing your analysis, V013 is the age of the woman. So the age of the woman has to be restricted to 1. And the 1 is the category or the label name for the category 15 to 19. That is the first one. And once you have restricted your analysis, those who have had live birth should be greater than 0. So V201, which is the variable name for those who have had a live birth, should be greater than 0. That means that the person has had a live birth. Then the second definition, talking about those who have had a pregnancy loss. After you have restricted your analysis to those who are 15 to 19, the variable name for pregnancy loss is V245 in the DHS 8. And that one too has to be greater than 0. Then those who are currently pregnant, the variable name is V213, and that one has to be equal to 1. So when you put all these 3 together, then you get your 4th variable, which is ever been pregnant, and which has been an addition or a composite of all these 3. V201 has to be greater than 0, V245 has to be greater than 0, or V213 has to be equal to 1. This is what you are supposed to use in order to measure your indicator ever been pregnant. Then, apart from this, the DHS also talks about the denominator. So the denominator here, we are talking about all women aged 15 to 19 years. And as I've mentioned before, V0 013, which is the variable name for age, has to be equal to 1. The variables are in the IR file, like I've indicated already, and these are the list of variables that you are supposed to consider. This is important because whenever you are performing your analysis, the variable names have to be there for you to know that, yes, I am considering the right variables. If they are not there, it means that they are not part, or they cannot be part of your analysis. So the first variable that is very important is the V013, which is age in 5-year groups in the standard DHS. We also have the V201, which is the number of children ever born, V213, which is currently pregnant, V245, which is pregnancy losses, and then the V005, which is the woman's individual sample weight. Like we have mentioned before, sample weights are very important. And for any analysis you are going to perform with the DHS, that is a variable you cannot do away with. Once you know this, the DHS tells you how to make your calculations. So the percentage is calculated as you can see there. It also provides you information on how to handle missing values, and then resources on how to perform your analysis are also provided, as you can see here. So all that we are trying to emphasize here by talking about the DHS statistics is that should be your manual. I don't know anybody that can do away with the DHS statistics. You can't do away with it when you want to do your analysis using the DHS. Even if you have done analysis before using the DHS, it is still important for you to consult the DHS statistics to be sure that you are doing the right thing.